Hola. I'd like to begin this evening by acknowledging that we are on the unceded territory of the Syilx Okanagan people. As settlers on this land, it's important to note that we haven't paid full rent yet, and that is something I believe has to be reconciled. Thank you. All right, well, thanks for coming. I thought it was just like 4 people that I knew, and the room is full-ish. That's great. I hope some of you have paid. Words are only words unless they're backed up by actions. I don't need to tell you that, Ian McIntosh. But a good story and an interesting conversation can ignite your imagination, can touch your soul. And while there will be no touching of your soul this evening, there will be some igniting, we hope. And with that in mind, let's talk about the art of conversation and the history of the talk show. The TV talk show has been around since the dawn of the medium, crossing over from radio, according to the website ThoughtCo. But I believe history has not revealed the full story of the talk show. Let's go back to William Shakespeare, where he was quoted probably as saying, "Here's my cool new stage play featuring the best talent this land hath to offer. Please join us after the show for a Q&A with the actors." There's a good chance that happened, but it didn't make the history books, and I don't know why that is. Why wouldn't you do a Q&A with the actors? Colosseum in ancient Rome. You're visualizing it now. History tells us that the performances would take place during the gladiatorial shows, usually during the intervals, performances often featuring acrobats and musicians. I would like to suggest that there was an MC, and of course they didn't have amplification, so they would be shouting something like this. "Before the bloodletting begins, let's meet our first naked and unarmed combatant, Adelphius, who is literally fighting for his life." It was the first reality show. Again, history missed that. In modern times, Arthur Godfrey, Jack Parr, Johnny Carson, and of course, David Letterman took the talk show to new heights. Oprah and Ellen pushed it even further. Regis and Kathy Lee took it to a special place. Here's what David Letterman had to say about the talk show format at the start of the millennium when he was asked by a poorly dressed homeless person with a microphone. Is there something that would move you as a viewer?
I think it's got to be something completely different. I don't have the energy to figure out what that is, but whatever the next version of that is, I think it'll be great. I think people are just, even what I'm doing, I'm tired of it. It's got to be something new, something completely different.
Yeah, excellent.
Good luck to you.
Hey, thanks.
Thank you.
Keyword, good luck. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time now for our really big introduction.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the world-famous Center Stage Theater in beautiful downtown Summerland, British Columbia. This is Talk Show for Tuesday, August 1st, 2017, and here is your host, Erick Thompson.
Just ahead on Talk Show, creative people using their words to make fun of you. Thank you and good night. I'll be in the back. It's going to be that kind of humor tonight. Welcome to the sauna. Unfortunately, here in Summerland, your tax dollars do not cover air conditioning, but that's good because that's why your taxes are so incredibly low. Our guests tonight, ladies and gentlemen, have come from far and wide throughout Summerland and Penticton and Naramata, and they did not take transit. Our guests tonight include the incomparable spoken wordsmith, Sophia Jackson. Yes. Her parents are proud of her, we're proud of her, and you're going to love her wry sense of humor. I think that's what she's doing tonight, I'm not sure. Also tonight, all the way from Penticton, writer, performer, art supporter, and cafe owner, Christopher Millin. Theatre director, Heather Davies. Oh, I forgot. Heather's from Stratford, Ontario. She arrived on an airplane. She's also the artistic director of the Ryga Festival. That's the Ryga Festival, coming soon to Summerland. August 30th to September 3rd. Tickets on sale now at rygafest.ca. Also tonight, Very few people can say this. I'm not a doctor, but I played one on TV. I would use that at every introduction if I was Roark Critchlow, ladies and gentlemen. Plus one of the smartest artists I know, Jenny Long, who came in from Naramata. I'm Erick Thompson. Please don't follow me on Twitter or social media because there's way too much going on there. Don't even get me started on Snapchat.
Proceeds from tonight's show support Summerland's second annual Ryga Festival, which honors one of Summerland's best-known residents, influential Canadian playwright George Ryga. Tickets are on sale now. For more information, please visit rygafest.ca.
All right, thank you. I know what you're all thinking. It's going to be a long, hot night. That's what I say on date night. We don't do date night. We think that's a dumb term, so I hope you don't use it. All right, I recently participated in a unique event. I almost said very unique, but I knew there were some wordsmiths in the audience, so that wouldn't have made sense. I recently participated in this event called Poetry, Pistols, and Pie. I think that's what it was called. The aim was to hit a performer with a pie and then duel it out with pistols. And as you can see, I survived. Thank you very much. Now, that event inspired me to share a personal story with you, one of two I will share. And if you've been to some of the previous shows, that's a good thing. I've trimmed it down and made way for some of the more talented people who have instruments. My instrument is my voice, and at some point it will give out and I will start crying uncontrollably. Anyway, this story I'm going to tell you is pretty quick, probably about 2 minutes, so you can just settle in and not have to worry too much that this will drone on. It's called How I Got My First Job in Broadcasting, My Best Job in Broadcasting, and then ended up living on an island all in under a year. Yes, it is a lengthy but descriptive title. I've always known what I wanted to do with my life. Microphones, cameras, the warm, warm glow of the spotlight. It somehow makes me feel normal, and I don't know why that is. Therapeutic? I don't know about that. It's just something I do, and I can't stop it. It's kind of like being a drug addict, and that's too expensive. Actually, hosting a show can be expensive, too. My first real introduction to broadcasting came when I worked as a telemarketer in high school. You know telemarketers, don't you? They're awesome. Now, I should back it up a bit. Prior to that, when I was 5 and I was sitting beside the stream that ran by our house with my friend Norm, I think some people called it a ditch later, but whatever. He said, "What do you want to do with your life?" And some of you have heard this story before. I said, "I want to be in the movie business." And how odd that has come full circle to not being in the movie business, but being here with you in Summerland, where most of my friends don't even know it exists. Like, where's Summerland? That's by Peachland, right? No. So my warm-up for my broadcasting career came as a telemarketer in high school. Hello, this is Rob Carlson calling on behalf of some organization that needs your money. People love that. I excelled at this underrated and undervalued job, and I mean that seriously. There was an art to this type of conversation. Speak clearly, don't take a breath, and don't allow the person on the phone to get a word in. That is the key. You've probably experienced this before. It's horrible. Let me give you an example. Hi, it's Rob Carlson calling from Uncles at Large. All the kids we're raising money for are going to be doing some paddling, some rowing, some swimming, probably do some paddling, and all that money really helps out, and we really need your help. Do you think we could count on your support? Mr. Rabinowitz? Oh, I see. Are your parents home? You don't speak English. Usually people will wait till the end of the spiel to say, "I'm not interested." I wouldn't mind if you just cut me off early and save me the misery. Save both of us the misery. I'm slurring. I think I've got heat stroke. If I just collapse, just please let the band play on. They have a contract, they're union. All right. So anyway, there's my warm-up for broadcasting. I go to high school, I get out of high school, couldn't get out of high school fast enough, it was slowing me down. So I head back to New Brunswick. I sell my Sony stereo that I won as a telemarketer. I actually traded up. I won a TV, which I didn't need. So I got a stereo instead, and I sold it. I put the price, and I don't even remember how I did that exactly. This is a long, long time ago. I probably put an ad in the newspaper. So this guy shows up, and this is when I learned about cash in hand. Shows up with I put the price of $800. He showed up with $500 cash. Cash. He actually showed me the brown ones and the red ones. There was an art to that. And I said, well, I wanted $800 for it. And he was like, okay. And I'm like, but $500 is pretty cool, because if I don't get the $500, I'm not going to be heading back to New Brunswick. I was going back there because my mom had moved back there to be with her parents. They were getting old. Kind of like Summerland. It's a good thing. It's a good thing. So I took that $500, I jumped on the train, and I headed back east across this beautiful country on a train back when it didn't cost $18,000 a kidney and your firstborn. And it was beautiful not having a sleeper car and sleeping in the coach like that for 4 or 5 days. So I get there, and I find out a new rock radio station has opened, a 50,000-watt radio station. I mean, that broadcast to the Maritimes, and I'm just a snotty-nosed teenager with no experience, but I'm going for it. So I go to Moncton, New Brunswick. Anyone familiar with New Brunswick? Great, great place. So I'm in Doketown, D-O-A-K, Doketown, small town, 2.5 hours from the coast. I go into Moncton, New Brunswick. I get a ride with Farmer Jilks. And he says, he didn't talk the whole way. It was really awkward. And he says, why are you going to Moncton? That's all he said. I said, I'm going to try and get a job in radio. He didn't think, he thought I was nuts, basically. So I go in for my interview, and they asked me to come back. And I'm thinking, I pretty much have the job. They've asked me to come back. So I come back, and I have an interview. And some of you, again, have heard the story at Poetry and Pie. Larry McCaw has this awesome radio voice, and he's like, sounds like you got a good set of pipes. I was like, thanks. The question I asked at Poetry and Pie was, does he wake up in the morning like that? Hey, it's Larry McCaw here. Honey, I just want some coffee. So I got this job, and I worked 2 days a week and starved the rest of the week. It was great. Best job ever. So that was my first job in radio, but I left that job because I had a chance to go to Calgary, Alberta, where I had been staying, to work for ABC TV during the Olympics. So I quit this awesome job, my first job, possibly my only job ever, and I go back to Calgary, and I get to the production office, and the lady says, we only have jobs available as drivers. I think I muttered something like, fuck. Then, the oddest thing happened. The phone rang. The actual phone attached to the wall. We didn't have these back then. And it was a guy I'd met on the train, Shinsuke, from Japan, had tracked me down. Bizarre. I honestly don't even know how this happened. So the lady hands me the phone and says, it's for you. So I'm thinking, opportunity. Konnichiwa, Shinsuke. Oh, yeah. To give her the impression that maybe I understand him speaking in Japanese, but he's like, dude, what's up? Needless to say, I got one of 5 jobs. There was one left that she didn't tell me about as an assistant to talent and crew. Best job to this date ever. One of my jobs was to hold cue cards for Peggy Fleming. I was like, man, I have made it. So I wrapped up that job, and I headed back to Gabriola Island, where my grandmother had a place. And I spent some time, I believe I have a photo. That's me doing a handstand with a beer. I spent some time doing that. So that's how I went from my first job to my best job to doing that. And it was really fun. It was kind of therapeutic. And then I struggled and clawed my way back in. I worked at a station called Chub, C-H-U-B. And I met a friend recently who said, you know what chub means for some people? It's an awkward and inappropriate meaning. It's like, no, it's not chub like that. I won't get into the details. It's sort of a family audience. And then I did other stuff and became a television news anchor and decided that I did not conform to television news. I needed to move away from there, come to Summerland, be a shit disturber, and host a talk show on the stage so I could meet all of you people. Thank you very much. My face every morning when I greet the day. That's Phyllis the cat, ladies and gentlemen. Every screen projector needs Phyllis. Let's meet the band, ladies and gentlemen. We have a fantastic band. This is the 4th show we've done together, and I don't know why they keep coming back. They don't return my phone calls. They just show up. It's awesome. The band leader is the one and only Tavis, Weir. On that large unnamed instrument in the back, I think it's a bass, Stefan Bienz from Summerland, British Columbia. And all the way from Penticton, the one and only Michael Treadway. If you're not familiar with this band, their talent level is really, 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 really high. We're lucky to have them. Please be respectful. The band is going to play a lovely song for us now. It's called Sleep Deep.
Caught you smiling to yourself into the mirror. It was reflecting your glow into my heart. And when I run and hide from some fear or other, or when my tongue is tied, I remember you said, sleep deep and rise slow. We already know everything we need to know. Get wise with the passing time. Just lay down with me now and we'll be fine. I was just floating by myself along a river, and when I stopped a while to rest on the shore, that's when you caught my eyes from deep in the water. I didn't wonder why. No, I jumped right in. Already know everything we need to know. Get wise with the passing time. Just lay down with me now and we'll be fine. But what could I do? I'm immune to advice. Advice doesn't work. You speak the truth, and I had no choice. You see what I can't see, and you said sleep deep and rise slow. We already know everything we need to know. Get wise with the passing time. Just lay down with me now and we'll be fine. everything we need to know. Get wise with the passing time. Just lay down with me now and we'll be fine. Thank you.
The Tavis Weir Group, ladies and gentlemen, just like a real TV talk show, I'm going to go and thank them. Okay, so it is hot. I hope you're okay. I've lost 2 pounds. And again, I'm lightheaded, but thank you for asking. When I put the show together, I said to myself, hey, let's do it differently than the other shows. Let's bring in some real talent. We're going to bring out the lovely Sophia Jackson, who, by the way, is putting together a fantastic show called Outspoken. It's all poetry and spoken word as part of the Ryga Festival. That will be August 31st. We did it last year, and she has kindly asked me to come back and MC it. So there's a reason to go to a movie. But no, it's going to be great. And then she's also involved with the playwriting event September 3rd. So please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, Sophia Jackson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Sophia. I'm a poet and just word nerd. As you can see, there's a photo back here. I'm going to do a couple of poems for you. The first one I wrote, a lot of my poems I write as letters. And the first one I wrote after getting invited to a birthday party. It was the first birthday of Rosa. And that is actually Stefan's daughter. So... And they invited me to this birthday, and Tavis was there, and Tavis's wife, and Thomas with the banjo. And it just turned into this amazing kind of, I don't know, musical evening, and it was just fantastic. So I wrote them this poem as a thank you. So I will do that poem. It's just called Dear Rosa. Dear Rosa, on the day you turned 1, you teetered through a forest of legs like a gleeful cherub zombie. Arms outstretched, mouth gaping, the occasional sheen of drool threatening the dam of your lower lip. Happy Birthday was a boisterous spectacle of voices and instruments. You were the confused, jubilant monarch enthroned in your high chair, and we were your jesters. We all sang. Your dad smiled down at you from behind his bass. Your mind took the opportunity to continue sewing the shape of your father with his music into the quilt of your earliest memories. The cake approached, a single candle rising from raspberry icing. You reached for the flame in slow motion. Your mother's hand, equally slow, pulled it away from you. Our half-speed gasps and sighs of relief became the soundtrack to the moment your tender palm gleaned the ghost of the fleeing fire. Later, when the room sloshed with that collective, warm-bellied feeling, your mom wove her voice with another, as if on an invisible loom. Their melodies hung like a mist you practiced walking through. You hurled your own voice into the chorus, volleys of experimental soprano punk bursting among the bluegrass. It was during the folk-infused version of George Michael's Faith that you released your extended squeal. I think by then you had absorbed so much love, it was the only way you could think to release some before you exploded. Oh, Empress of the present moment, who crushed her cupcake in her fist, who stood backwards on the rocking chair and beamed at our surprise, who licked the inside of her Opa's empty port glass and was startled by the sweet foreign warmth, whose brother ran by in a superhero mask, whose brother is always a superhero, whose eyes I have seen wide open, swimming in fearless delight. I'm writing you this so you might understand a little of the magic in the world, the way it flows between people and can make a home in us if we let it, the way it will even let us coax it into something beautiful, like a poem or a song. That is... Thank you. That's just a little bonus picture, just so you can see that Ilo is indeed a superhero. So that was at Halloween. And yes, Rose's grandparents are actually here as well. They're somewhere over there. Hi, Joe and Rosemary. So thank you very much. I've got one more poem for you. This one I wrote last year. UBCO did this call out for poems about pollinators. There was some kind of pollinator art project, so I wrote a poem about pollinators. I thought I can do that. Alas, my poem was not chosen for the pollinator art project, but I still kind of like it, so you guys can have it. It is called Letter from the Blossom to the Bee. And I have to say the photo, thank you very much to my friend Lori. She let me use her photo. If you're not following Lori on Instagram, as she's at the Crazy Bird Lady, lady with an IE, yes, she will just make your day. Her photos are so lovely. So thank you, Lori, for letting me use your picture. This is Letter from the Blossom to the Bee. My love, you may think me fickle, dressing up the way I know you like. You may suspect the tricks I use, self-perfumed, self-caressed, until I'm a vibration in the air in your poor Ulysses, breaking your bonds and lunging headlong into my trap. I'm not saying you're overreacting, just that I understand sacrifice and the 1,000 sweet destructions we drive ourselves to. Believe me, honey, when I call, I know what it will cost me. You forget I'm just as much a slave to this theater as you. You don't know what the sun does to me, turning my heart to syrup, or how water makes me yearn for her one day and feel so smothered the next. As for Earth, I confess the relationship is mutually gratifying. You see, we're all just conduits for this nameless lust. We're what happens when Lady Opportunity forgets her shyness and leaves her heels on. So what do you say? The sun's just up. I'm dew-kissed and humming between the tenderest evaporation. In less than an hour, the breeze will carry my scent to you. Is it even worth pretending you won't be here soon after? I, for one, say we let ourselves fall into our fates and try to have a little fun along the way. Thank you.
It is hot.
You're awesome. Have you got a moment? You have to be somewhere?
I have to be over there. Or I just stand here and yammer?
You've been writing forever.
Yes.
Recently, you decided you were going to enjoy the warm, warm glow of the spotlight.
Yes.
What happened?
My aunt passed away. It'll be 2 years in November. And she was a really vivacious, creative woman who let her fear get in the way. And then she passed before she really had a chance to do all the things she wanted to do. So.
Here for your aunt and yourself.
Yes,
Awesome.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, very quickly, I do not want to forget about this. Outspoken is coming up August 31st. Mm-hmm. It's round 2. It's always tough when you have an event. Last year it was called the Marginal Arts Festival. Now it's the Ryga Festival. The name Outspoken sticks around. How do you outdo what you did last year?
Well, Diane did all the work last year.
So it's easy. You just do.
And she's helping all.
Get her to help you.
Exactly. That is the thing to do. When in doubt, Diane.
But you're curating this year.
Yes, with Diane.
And are you going to perform as well?
No.
Okay.
No. I learned that with Poetry and Pie, that performing and organizing at the same time is too much. It's one or the other for me.
Yeah, I believe the actual name was Stories, Poetry, and Pie.
Yes.
I think I got it wrong earlier.
Yeah, no pistols. But next time. I've got a really good idea that there's no pistols involved, but for a Halloween one, for a Halloween story night called In Character,
Oh.
So the idea is that you have to present your story or your poem in the character that you're doing.
Oh,
so
I'm doing that right now myself.
There you go.
So I'm
you're
already
in character.
prepared. All right, Sophia, thank you so much. I really enjoyed your work.
Thank you very much.
Awkward hug. Thank you so much. Sophia Jackson, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so we're going to be recording this. We are recording this. It'll be on the Google Twitter or whatever they call it. I think YouTube or something. I will edit out the parts that I screwed up and make myself look as good as possible and probably cut down the music a little bit, but it'll be great. It'll be really enjoyable. This table is for the second half. We wanted to go big and sort of have a kitchen table kind of classroom thing for a discussion, because that's where all the best discussions happen. But before we get to our break and then talking, let's take a look at some art. We have two lovely pieces of art here. When I was preparing for the show, I said we need visual stuff and we need smart people. So we went all the way to Naramata and we found Jenny Long, ladies and gentlemen. Come on up, Jenny. I'm going to give Jenny a handheld mic. You seem like a handheld mic kind of person. So we can roam around and chat. How are you?
Fantastic. Whoa. How are you?
Great.
I don't do this ever, so I'm really nervous.
You do now.
Hi. You guys make me comfy.
That painting there and that painting there are from 2003, and Jenny painted them all by herself. You are phenomenal. And you did them in art school.
Art school. That was my graduation year from OUC, which is now UBCO in Kelowna. And these were the two smaller pieces.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
The other two were 6 foot by 5 foot. And one was of my dad. And don't worry, I'm getting back to the big stuff.
And these are friends of yours?
These are actually two people that are dear friends that did the 4 years of fine arts with me. And so I featured them in the grad show. They didn't know I was painting them. And they came around the corner in the studio and went, "Oh, what? You're painting me?" I'm like, "Yes." It's fitting.
I've got to say, that looks like Lenny Bruce. Anyone know Lenny Bruce? Probably 4 or 5 people. Lenny Bruce was part of the inspiration for this show. Lenny would talk about things that weren't funny for a long time to the point where it irritated people. Thank you very much. I'm proud to carry on his work. You have a great story you want to share with us. Being an artist is not easy, to say the least. A working artist. So what I do, I call it juggling chainsaws. You keep them all in the air, pay the bills, but you're able to do something beautiful. And you painted a picture of another artist, a gentleman by the name of John Cougar Mellencamp, ladies and gentlemen. Let's hear that story, Jenny. Why did you do that?
Well, the SOEC, they tend to give a gift to the artist visiting that's playing. So B.B. King, Rihanna, whatnot. John Cougar Mellencamp is a painter, so, which I didn't know till they emailed me and said, "Jenny, could you do a portrait of him to give to him?" And I said, "Oh my, are you kidding me?" I think my daughter was about 5 at the time. I was at home, like, totally shocked already that I was doing this for the superstar. So anyways, I had all these grand thoughts of, meeting him and shaking his hand, and he's a good old boy, and all this. So right the day before the show, I'd finished the painting, and I went to the event center, and they had me behind all these doors, and they're like, "Okay, in about 5 minutes, you'll finally meet his manager." I'm like, "Oh, his manager? Yeah, John doesn't meet anybody." "Okay, all right then." So I waited, and I had my big painting. I was so excited, and he met me and said, "Hi, I'm Tom. Do you do this for a living?" And I, went, "I guess so." This is what I live to do. I paint. And he said, "Okay, I'll give this to John." And I went, "Great." And I went home, went to the show the next day, and I had all these great hopes at the concert that he'd at least go, shout out to the Penticton artist who did this painting, or I just had these dreams of any kind of acknowledgement from him, or even his assistant a month later sending me an email saying, "Thank you, like John got the painting, and we thank you," but nothing. I still don't know if he has it. But that's what fame or,
No, that's not what fame does.
No?
No. If John's watching this on YouTube right now, John...
It's a plea.
If he's
Please,
going,
let
if he's
me
going down the
know.
rabbit hole of YouTube viewing one night looking for his name, John, we'll give you Jenny's number. Come on. And the reason we're showing this awkward picture, and I'm hoping you can change it after I mention it, that's John Cougar Mellencamp hair that I had back in '87.
I should have painted you.
My mom used to call that the I don't want a job haircut. And she was right. All right, so life as an artist now is beautiful because you have a studio, you teach people to paint, you paint all the time, you're being asked on to talk shows. It's just out of control. I hope you don't become an asshole like that last person in the story. Thank you, Jenny.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. Coming up, director Heather Davies and actor Roark Critchlow talk about life on the proverbial stage, ladies and gentlemen. A real-life story from Christopher Millin. Also, the graduation speech the government doesn't want you to hear. Plus, more from this impressively subtle band. This is Talk Show, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned. Let's hear it for Detonate and Saxon, ladies and gentlemen. Enabling Summerlanders for many years. Well, when we left earlier, we were talking... I think we were talking about midlife crisis. I can't remember. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to share some good news with you. While we were in the back, I received a call from my agent. Actually, it wasn't my agent, it was an agent, and he or she texted me and said, "Who is this?" So, I think things are moving along. Our first guest tonight on Talk Show, ladies and gentlemen, here on the interweb. If you're watching and you've just joined us on YouTube, it's a talk show. It's in Summerland. Yeah, just south of Kelowna, north of Penticton. Our first guest is Heather Davies, ladies and gentlemen, all the way from Stratford, Ontario. You can sit wherever you feel least awkward. Heather,
Hello.
thank you for joining us.
I like this. I feel like I'm in the power position.
You are. Heather is a trained dancer, singer, actor, and musician. She spent 18 years in Britain, but does not have that funny "I'm a Canadian who has lived in Britain" accent. She is also the artistic director of the Ryga Festival, ladies and gentlemen. First things first, would you like a beer?
Sure.
Okay, I'll run and get you one shortly. First, you must perform. Heather, I know the crowd here wants to know, they're probably wondering right now, how was your flight out?
Oh, it was great. I watched a couple of movies. It was fantastic. What was it called? Something with beauty in it with Will Smith and Helen Mirren. It was super. It's great.
Will Smith and Helen Mirren.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds like a good movie.
It was good.
Let's talk about your time in Britain.
Okay.
Living in Britain, to me, seems like it would be fun.
Yeah, okay. So the highs were high and the lows were low. I did things like, okay, here's a low. So I graduated from theater school and I worked as a temporary silver service waitress. And I worked as a cleaner as well. And I did that for a year until I got an agent. And then literally, I got an agent. They got me on audition. The next day, I went to the audition. It was Friday. And on Monday, I was working in the West End.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was a good high. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
What was the low was the previous part where you worked as a...
Yeah. I mean, I literally would take the cash that I earned from my cleaning job and I would go to my singing lessons. So, because I figured that was the best way to invest in myself at that time.
Would you angry sing? I hate my job.
I would angry sing. I would happy sing. I just would.
Yeah.
I love singing.
Can you do jazz hands? Is that a thing?
Jazz hands. I do jazz hands all the time. I call it sparkling now. We sparkle.
Yes, I was in a meeting with you for the Ryga Festival Society, and you talked about sparkle and...
Bubble and fizz.
Bubble and fizz.
We have bubble and fizz, sparkle.
tonight.
But when I'm working with non-hearing people, we include the sparkle as a way of showing applause. So
nice.
I introduce that when I'm teaching sometimes, because students a lot of the time want to clap. They get really excited. So I introduce them to the sparkle, then they get to applaud when they want to, but it's nice and silent, which is great, because it encourages exploration. So it's all good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk for a moment about the Ryga Festival.
Yes.
So what brought you to Summerland? Are you lost?
Okay, so
I'm going to take a selfie of us while you do that.
Okay, great. So I was thinking about this a lot. I was thinking about dreams, and I'm gonna.
Sorry, I know this is totally distracting.
I was thinking about dreams.
It's a shitty picture, by the way. Okay. Sorry.
And I think I had this dream when I was a teenager that I wanted to be a little bit like Harrison Ford, and just a little bit, and live in mountains, and then create wonderful art and things. And so I think actually I might be turning into Harrison Ford right now.
Are you telling us the story about the Ryga Festival and how you found Summerland, or are you having a flashback?
No, it's about the Ryga Festival. So the story of how I encountered the Ryga Festival is that I was up in Prince George. I was directing my adaptation of A Christmas Carol at the Theatre Northwest, and I finished that job, and I flew down to Vancouver to see a friend, Donna Wong-Giuliani. And I had been in the process already of adapting one of George Ryga's novels called Night Desk. And I had met with Donna. We got together for lunch, and she was like, so what's going on? And tell me about this, and tell me about that. And those of you who know Donna will understand that that's my Donna. And I said, well, Christmas Carol was great, Theatre Northwest, it was great. And then, I'm working on this George Ryga adaptation of Night Desk, and she literally pointed at me across the table and did this. It's you. You're the perfect person. Send me your resume. We're having a Skype call tonight. And so that was how I met Peter and Dorothea. And so that was part of how I arrived here last summer to teach workshops as part of the Marginal Arts Festival. And through all those long conversations and shared passions and shared appreciation of George as an artist and as a human being, with his epic humanity and his passion for language and community and people, I've arrived here, and I'm thrilled to be here.
I wonder what George Ryga would think about this if he would have participated in something like this, because from what I understand, George Ryga liked to sit around and shoot the shit, so to speak. Do you think he would have done it at this level on a stage, like with lights, or would he have said, no,
Well, do you mind if I just share one of the things that I was talking about at the intermission, Wendy and Keith? Do you mind if I just share this? Okay, well, I was just talking to Wendy and Keith, who were really great friends of George, and they think that George would be really happy with what's going on here tonight. So
Good.
I think that's a good thing.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So,
I'm Heather.
No, you were talking about Harrison Ford. I was trying to think of the actor you mentioned, and Harrison Ford comes in. Was I not paying attention?
Oh,
Where did
yeah,
Harrison
no,
Ford
just,
come into this?
I think that for me,
Did you want a beer?
I think you should have my water.
Yeah, no, this is the first drink I've had. I can't drink and work, except now, because I need to, because I'm interviewing a director.
Oh my God. So no, it was just about, sometimes we say our dreams to the world, and we don't necessarily expect that they're going to happen. But I literally have started, about 12 years ago, I would say, I started talking about wanting to be, have a wonderful, rich relationship with a creative community and and to be able to have that for a long period of time. And there would be mountains, and there would be pine trees, and there would be water. And that's why I'm sharing the Harrison Ford story. Awesome. So that's a large part. Well, that's part of the reason I'm thrilled to be here, because there's so much creativity already here. It's already going on. And to be able to have this wonderful person as our inspiration, and to celebrate creativity in the community and the virtuosity of creativity as well in the same festival is really incredibly exciting to me. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, it's good to have you here. So, Heather is from Stratford, Ontario, so I know what you're all thinking, and it's okay to ask. I've already done it, and I'll ask again here on the stage. Have you met Justin Bieber, who's from Stratford, Ontario?
Okay. So one night I was driving down the road in Stratford, and I saw Bieber and Selena Gomez holding hands. Yeah. I did, really.
You're not making this up.
No, I'm not. It's
Awesome.
true. Yeah.
All right. The band played Teen Spirit as your song. I don't know if you noticed that as
I
your
did,
entrance
actually. I
music.
did. I appreciated it.
Were you okay with that?
I loved it.
Because you seem like kind of a rebel.
I am.
I mean that seriously. She's trouble.
No.
She seems sweet and everything, but
What?
no, you actually mentioned that to me about Summerland. You're finding out that people like Diane
Oh.
Hildebrand, for example, we
I
heard her
love
name
it.
earlier.
I love it.
They're trailblazers with just a bit of like living out on the edge. They're on the outside of the law almost.
I just love the
Right, Diane?
Diane Hildebrand, Maverick.
But there are a lot of people like that in Summerland. It's just an odd place for people who just are, not in a bad way, but I mean, we're not like milquetoast
I
here.
love it. I think what I feel is like that people are very welcoming, which is brilliant, because believe me, I've been places where people are not. And did I mention Hull? There's a city called Hull. Hull in the northeast of England, and I was on tour there one time, and people were so miserable. We'd be like, don't. And I would say to my friends that I was on tour with, don't get Hully with me. And so, But let me answer your question very briefly. No, I think it's amazing. There is this kind of like people just nudge the envelope, like, and I love that about this community.
Here we say, don't get Trout Creaky with me. Heather, I know you have to go because you have a flight to catch or
Wait,
somebody to
but
talk to or an agent. No, we can't. We're done. Sorry, you have to leave.
Wait, I have
You're
a
the
big reveal.
artistic director of the Ryga Festival. Do you have a poster or anything you can share with us? A website or something?
Oh, how lovely that you should ask. Yes. So this is our brand new poster.
This is the reveal publicly on this show here on the interweb?
This is the world premiere of the first Ryga Festival poster. We have, of course, our posters from the Marginal Arts Festival, but it's the first time with this name, so a world first.
Awesome.
There we go.
Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I feel honored. Ryga Festival coming up August 30th to September 3rd in Summerland. That's just north of Trout Creek. Heather, I love your work. You're going to go in the back or somewhere and pretend to be busy, like a talk show, and we'll bring out our next guest. And then afterwards, do you think you can come back and join us?
Oh my gosh, I would
That'd
love
be
to.
awesome. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you.
Please go get a beer. Our next guest also wouldn't return my phone calls. No, actually, he did. He's a former TV doctor, but more importantly than being on Days of Our Lives for 14 years, which my wife used to watch religiously, he has appeared in countless TV and film projects. He was in Godspell in this very theater not too long ago. He's a creative person with something to say. Ladies and gentlemen, would you please welcome to the talk show stage, Roark Critchlow.
I'm sorry, I don't meet people.
Thank you. Talk to my people. True story, the band was looking for a song last night to introduce you, and they said, what about Hawaii Five-0? And I have a little record player with the Ventures, and it was on, and I literally reached over and turned it on.
It took 3 seconds. He was like, wait, I think I might have that.
I hope you're okay with that intro.
Hey, nothing could be more appropriate. How close do I have to be to this? Hi. Is this on? Okay.
Roark,
Yes.
you're an actor, and
Yes.
actors have always, to me, they've intrigued me, because you have characters as your job. Is it difficult just to be yourself?
I didn't know. That's it. What are you
I don't know
talking
what
about,
that
man? No,
means.
no, it's fine. Not really. Thanks. You know, it's really hot here. Yeah, really good crystal meth up here. It's way better than LA.
All right. Well, thank you very much for joining us. It's been Godspell on this stage. Is that right?
Day by day, day by day, everybody. Oh, dear Lord, 3 things I pray. Yeah, that's a flashback for
Do you remember any of the lyrics
oldest
or
people
lines
here.
from that?
No, no.
How did that go over? I heard it was quite a thing actually at the time. People were like blown away that Godspell was done here and done well. Is that right?
I didn't see it, so I don't know how well it was done. No, that was Linda Bevan, flat out. Linda Bevan.
Linda Bevan.
Can we, right?
Yeah.
I happened to have like long hair and a beard at that point, so
Grade 8.
it made sense. Yeah, I was a late bloomer. No, it was Linda, and I benefit. I mean, gosh, anybody who knows her still is benefiting from her. Just every attitude and for again, the same thing you were talking about with Heather. It's like, what is this town? I don't know. There's it's like a creative vortex of something. Like some places have that sort of thing, and you can start with the Ryga and then go Ryga and then go Ryga, because he's got a bit of a legacy going on with his kids, who were my best friends at the time, actually. Yes, I'm dropping names. Cam, Sergey. Oh, hey, I'm on stage. But I mean, I'm working right now for someone who got to the Olympics and the World Championships in her chosen sport. Like, I mean, this from Summerland.
Yeah.
It's just kind of weird. We have an awful lot of active people here, and people that do kind of push things a little bit. So they push things and try to be best, try to be better, you know. Bevan, grade 10 theater, you know, let's do some scenes from Godspell. And it worked so well, they said, let's do the whole play next year, you know, whatever. And she did. She would take any idea. She gave us theater in a way that I don't think a lot of high schoolers get theater. There, enough Bevan. So.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about Days of Our Lives. We'll just get that out of the way right now. You were on a soap opera. You've done a lot of work and a lot of different things, and I know you're very creative right now. You have some projects you're working on, and I believe you will be part of Outspoken with your dad on the bill as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're going to have a
Ralph.
fight.
Yeah, good.
I'm finally going to tell him what I really think about him.
Deal with your
He
dad
never
issues.
came and saw Godspell.
He was busy.
That's,
So,
acting.
how surreal is it to go to work knowing that you're basically going into the television set and becoming a doctor where people want you to save their lives?
It was a soap opera, dude. If they were pretty, I made eyes at them, you know, whatever. That was the gag. I mean, hi, I'm Dr. Mike. And I'm going to save your life, and later, I'm going to change it. And not just through this sex change operation. I mean,
Welcome to radio theater. What would it be like being part of a soap opera as an actor? Because as an actor, there are so many different things you can do, but you're on basically a serial. You're moving the rock up the hill slowly every single day in a different way, but kind of the same thing. Is that an enjoyable project to work on?
It's as an actor, you're dealing with scripts that are not exactly David Mamet. So
This is what I wanted.
the interesting thing though is, I got on the show and they had a thing where the last newest guy would take the newest guy and sort of show him the ropes. And this guy was a pretty funny fella. He was a good guy, Jason. And he was like, no matter what you do, man, at 6 months, you're going to give up trying to make this stuff watchable. And I kind of looked at him, because I got to LA, I was working as a bartender, I'd done some stuff in Vancouver, enough to convince myself that I could go to Los Angeles. Actually, the first time I lasted 4 months and just ran back home with my tail between my legs. But I was working, we had a baby and a bartending job and like whatever. It was the very first job I got in Los Angeles, based virtually almost entirely on the fact that I had blonde hair and blue eyes, I'm pretty sure. But I really wanted to act good, so I looked at him and he says, "Oh, I know, but you just went. I was like, not a fucking chance, man. I am not going to sacrifice my creative integrity I'm going to be such a great soap opera actor. And almost to the day, 6 months in, I'm looking at this script going, oh, fuck. I'm sorry, John. Marlena's going to die. Again. No. Wait a second. That's right. I'll keep her body alive. You become a priest and exorcise the devil from her soul. That's what we'll do. I actually never gave up.
Good for you.
No, but when you're working with scripts, this is better material than some of the stuff we had. And it's like, when you're working with scripts that are that bad, and you're trying to
compliment. Thank you very much.
Wonders
Thank you.
with this.
Thank
You are killing this stuff, man. When you're working with scripts that bad and you're trying to make it good, it just results in some of the most astounding overacting you've ever seen in your life.
Oh my God.
Get me the pentothal. No, it's for me. I just need to see some truth. You know?
Overacting, that's what I do.
Understated overacting, that was
Yes.
my style, yeah.
Before we bring Heather back, I want to ask you if you can give us a preview of what we might see at Outspoken when you perform there in, whatever it is, August, end of August.
It is August.
Soon.
Well, my dad's become the star of the Outspoken. I don't know, he does another one too.
He did Stories, Poetry, and Pie.
Yeah.
Roark's dad is Ralph Critchlow, and he kills it every time, and he's a painter as well.
Yeah, sculptor. Like, I'm going to rebel by being an artist. Oh, shit, Dad's a better artist than I am. Okay. I'll rebel by being a crappy artist. I wrote a book. I've become a writer. I've started writing the requisite, just appallingly bad poetry after my divorce. Reams of just this, oh gosh. Don't want to go back and read that. I can do some if you like. I hate me and I hate myself.
If we had more time, I would actually say, yes, I think I want to hear that, but maybe at the Perch after the show.
Oh, yeah. Karaoke night. What rhymes with hate? Oh, God. I hate myself. I love you. I hate myself. But I've gotten better at writing.
I'm going to write that down. Can I steal? I hate myself. I love you.
So I've written a number of scripts that actually are being read by people who tell me I'm pretty good, but then you go, can I get $3 million to make this? Like, yeah, no, not so much. So I thought, I'll write a book, and it's a sort of a meandering tale. Just finished it like the first rewrite 2 weeks ago, so it's actually kind of real, you know. And I wrote a story that largely involves a number of Native Canadian people as characters, and literally in the middle of the first rewrite, I'm listening to CBC in the morning, and there's this big thing about appropriating Native culture as an artist. I'm like, bad timing there. I would possibly read a chapter entitled The Early Onset Puberty Incident.
That's at Outspoken.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
You want to be there,
Thank you,
especially
Roark.
if you're around 13.
We're going to bring Heather Davies back up on the stage, where I will try to keep things under control. Heather Davies, still in the house? I hope so. Oh, there she is.
That's not Nirvana. Oh, no.
I wasn't going... Oh, I think we can make it work.
Just thought you could do the Sharon Stone moment.
No, that mic will work, I think.
Hello?
Those are special trousers. Yeah.
No, yeah, not me, you. I'm not equipped for that. Okay.
I wasn't going to mention this, but your dad is also kind of famous. Victor Davies, the well-known composer?
Yeah, my dad's a Canadian classical composer. And how many Canadian classical composers do you know?
Exactly. I listen to CBC, I know the name.
Yeah, he's a groovy dude, my dad. And he'll actually be joining us here for the Ryga Festival. He'll be one of the people on the panel for our Rita Joe 50, a Rethink, because I can reveal to you, if it stays within this room, that cone of silence, that he's doing an opera adaptation of The Ecstasy of Rita Joe. Yeah, so
Wow.
yeah, and which is very exciting, and it'll have the concert premiere in March of 2018. So I talked to him today, and he said, "Yeah, I'm writing the music. It's going well."
Does he say it like that?
That's my impression of him, but it's nothing like him at all. So yeah, but it's weird. Like his music's been in space, and
Wow.
yeah, some Canadian astronaut took his music up in space, and I think that's kind of cool. And he's received an Order of Canada a couple of years ago, which is also great because. Again, I've inherited this, I think, from my dad. He does tons of work for the composing community and intellectual copyright and things like that. So he's very community spirit, my dear dad.
I want to spur a bit of a conversation with the two of you where I can just sit back and stare into space and listen.
I can't speak to this person.
You're a director who was an actor, so I would think that would make you a better director because you understand acting.
Yes.
Roark
Right.
is an actor who hasn't done much directing, if any. Is that right?
Yeah, very, very little.
Would you, as a director, as an actor, prefer to work with someone like Heather, for example, who used to do the craft, who was an actor, but is now directing? Like, as an actor, do you think, I just want to work with a director who's going to help me? Does it make her more valuable as a director that she used to be on the stage herself as the jazz hands?
Well, it sort of depends if I had to audition or if it was a straight offer. It's like Michael Jordan coaching basketball players. No, just go up there, do the thing, triple slam dunk. What's the problem, man?
Exactly.
I can't do what you did. I'm sorry. So, I mean, if she was gentle with me, I suppose it would be okay. If you're a director,
Hi, everyone.
if you no, if you're a director, then you're the. I'm like the good hockey player. The coach says that I'm in. Right, like that's the job. That's her job, and I'm assuming the success level is based upon a certain amount of skill and empathy and things that good directors have.
Yeah, part of the reason I decided to be an actor first was because I thought it was really important to understand the creative process from the inside, just like being an athlete before becoming a coach. So I figured, because I kind of knew when I was 16 that I wanted to be a director. I realized then that I was probably a director, not actually an actor, but I thought, I'm going to do the acting thing first. So I did that for 10 years, 12 years, and then I was like, okay, and now I will become a director.
Did you dig it?
Acting?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like it, but I love actors because they put their souls, their heart and their souls out there on the table for everybody, and to be the kind of like excellent actor that I really wanted to be, I meant that it was really challenging to be like a human being in daily life. So I'm much better.
Little uptight, are you, Heather?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
I was just
okay.
like, my guts were all over the place all the time. So I'm like a more human being when I'm directing. So I'm being totally transparently honest.
Yeah.
But that's why I love and adore actors who put it on the line.
Huh. Well, I know a couple, so.
I think we might have to make a project together. I'll stand back and watch. That came out wrong. Mm-hmm. I want to thank you both for taking the time out of your very, very busy lives here in Summerland to join us on the stage at the Center Stage Theatre.
This has been super fun.
No
Good.
kidding.
I don't ever do this.
No, Sleep Deep in 15/8 or whatever the hell that was.
Yeah, this is great. This is great. So thank you for the invitation.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for bringing the poster out. I just want to leave you with one thought. I wrote this earlier tonight. I hate myself, but I love you. So,
We're all actors up here, Eric.
thank you both very much for joining us.
Thank you.
And I do want to mention this for YouTube. I just want to see if this camera is rolling. We did invite some other folks to join us. Yeah, it's still rolling. And I just want them to know that if they are watching this, we will be doing the show again next year. We want to make it an annual event, Paul Rogers. So if you're around, we'll buy you a beer. We'll do what we can. So we have Christopher Millin standing by to read a story, share a story with you that will, well, it'll probably make you feel kind of freaked out. We're going to play a song first. Something, I don't know. It's going to be a great song.
This one's called Sleep It Off. Some of us never do well with the daily transition, swimming in the pools of moonlight to the shores of the land of the sun, and causing my eyelids to swell as my dreams commit treason. Some of us never do well with such abrupt change of season. But I like you, time, and I think I'll keep you around as long as I'm captive in this mind, and time is on my side. Well, promise me never to sell any of your gray matter. It's never easy to tell those who tell the truth from those who flatter. Keep all your dreams to yourself, for they will lead you to safety in the ocean of mental health. They can be your diving bell. I like you, time, and I think I'll keep you around as long as I'm captive in this mind. Time is on my side. Picture yourself in a swell caused by the moon's persuasion to rise again after you fell. What once was down would now be up. Some of us never do well with the daily transition. Just sleep it off, sleep it off, sleep it off in the bliss of intermission.
This gentleman is an art supporter, a writer, probably paints. We all do. He owns St. Germain Cafe. That's in the 400 block of downtown Penticton. Drop by and get some coffee and look at some art. Please welcome Christopher Millin.
Like all true professionals, I wrote this about 3 days ago, so bear with me. I'm going to preface this by saying there are religious elements to this story, so it might sound a little serious, seeing as this has been such a hilarious evening. But I'm not religious. I grew up in Abbotsford. I lived on a street at one time that had 12 churches on it, and every church, my brother and I'd go by and we'd give the devil horns too, and we started to get this thing about us. And there was one time we lived in a strata development. It was a gated community of about 23 homes, and 20 of them were Mennonites. And my brothers and I, we'd be out on the street playing street hockey, and you'd see like the curtains open from the homes, and you'd see the little kids inside that just wanted to come and play with us, but their parents wouldn't let them. So according to their parents, we were evil. So I had to grow up with this, and I made a conscious decision at some point that I was just going to not be religious. But that doesn't mean I don't believe in a higher power. So my background is writing. I used to write children's books, so I'm used to standing in front of a bunch of children with a book in my hand reading. So I'm going to try to tell you this story, and this is a true story. So here it goes. People say life is all ups and downs, and to a degree this is true, but really life is us riding a straight line from point A to point B, and rarely do we deviate from this line. For the most part, it's organic and it's beautiful when one step leads naturally to the next. But as we all know, there are a few defining moments in our life when we experience something or reevaluate something or come to terms with something, and everything changes after that. We jump off that straight line we'd been on for so long, and we start a new one in a completely different direction. In late 2010, I lost almost everything. I lost my wife, my grandmother, my ex-wife's grandfather died. I lost my house. I even lost my cats, but I didn't really care for my cats that much. I lost my will to be. I needed something to kickstart my motivation to move forward. Being alone and being empty at 35 for the first time in my life was just too much to handle. And having spent almost 4 years trying to finish a stupid book, I wasn't just suffering from writer's block, I was suffering from a life block. I needed to change my scenery. I needed a change of perspective, so I packed up my car and I went on a road trip. I was looking for a sign that I was going to be all right, and I really think that sign came the very first night in Lillooet. Lillooet had always been a place of mystery for me. In 2001, I was visiting a little basement suite that my dad had up there. He did some part-time work up there, and I had this terrifying experience with the supernatural. I'm still haunted by it. So it's no surprise this sign happened while I was in this strange little town. So I'd settled into my dumpy hotel, and I was raring to see what would pour through me when I finally put pen to paper. I wandered down to Lillooet's main street, and if you know Lillooet, then you know there's only one street, and it's entitled Main Street. And I walked to a series of picnic tables that overlooked the Fraser River and the stunning valley. With so much amazingness right there in front of me, I began to write page after page of illegible handwriting. I don't know how much time I was sitting there when suddenly I heard the crunch, crunch, crunch of approaching feet on pebbles. I looked behind me and I saw a man in his early 70s hobbling toward me. I hadn't heard him pull up in his pickup truck. I hadn't heard him get out of the truck or shut the door. There were several empty tables on either side of me, but for some reason, he was hobbling towards mine. The man wore shorts and had metal braces on both of his legs. He had a weathered face and a patchy white beard. A box of chicken from A&W was in one of his hands, and a pop was in the other. When he reached me and I looked up at him, he said, "Oh, I don't mean to bother you. I just want to look at the view while I'm eating my dinner." I wanted to say, there are tables all around us with nobody at them. Wouldn't you enjoy the view better from one of those? But instead I said, no problem. And I returned to my writing. He awkwardly worked his way onto the bench and sat next to me for several minutes, chomping on his chicken, licking his fingers, and loudly sucking out the last of the root beer through the straw in his cup. When the chomping stopped, I decided the awkwardness of not talking to him was just too much to handle. So I put my pen down and I asked him, "What's your deal?" He said he was from Arizona and he had never left the state before. He had lived a tough life, digging ditches, teaching, and even preaching at one point. When his wife passed away a few years back, he turned to liquor to mask his pain. He began to resent the world and his beliefs. He became bitter, and then his legs began to deteriorate. He believed that if he lost his ability to walk, he would not have a reason to go on. Drinking and struggling to walk at the same time was too much for him, so he gave up the liquor. And in his struggle to keep his mobility and his sobriety, he found all that he had lost. He found his will to live again. He found his belief in God again. He found his need to explore the world he knew was out there, but he had chosen never to see. It was a phone call from the wife of an old friend that made him pack up his rusty pickup and head north. His friend was dying, and if he wanted to say farewell, he'd have to drop by soon. After spending meaningful time with his friend and saying a proper and emotional goodbye, he continued up the coast into Canada. He couldn't believe the beauty of our province. He couldn't believe how big the world was. His dilemma had become his route. His destination was Lake Louise, but did he want to go through Jasper or straight through to Banff? After he finished telling me his story, I suddenly told him some of the things I was struggling with. There's something compelling me to share with this complete stranger, something about him that made me feel at ease. We talked about my writing and our combined concern for the impact technology was having on our kids, which was very strange to be talking about. We talked about the fact that A&W doesn't put ice in their root beer. We talked about nothing and everything, and as the giant moon settled into the valley and the sun disappeared behind the mountains, we stopped and we watched it all unfold. After several minutes of witnessing day turn into night, the man who never told me his name stood up and he looked down on me. "It's good to believe in something," he said. "And if you're struggling to find something to believe in right now, there's always you. You can believe in you. God be with you." I smiled at him and I looked back at the valley briefly. When I turned to say farewell, he was gone. Like that, there and then gone. No man, no truck, no A&W chicken. I sat there for several minutes wondering, did that really just happen to me? It took me a while to process my experience with this mystery man, but it took me a moment to feel its effect. The next morning I woke up and I felt a warmth in my soul I hadn't felt for years. I suddenly knew I needed to change everything to move forward with my life. I shed the regret, the remorse, and the hate for the world I'd built up. I removed the poisons in my life that had been dulling me. I finished the unfinishable book. I was never a believer in the big G-O-D, but I still sometimes look up and thank whoever was watching me that day, because that was the day I set forth on a brand new line, a line that led me through that door up onto the stage and in front of you. Thank you.
I've got one story left for you, ladies and gentlemen. I will keep it brief because I know you're absolutely tired of me. And it's hot. But it's part of the show, so if you don't like it, you can always leave. And that would be sad. So, I just want to mention when we're done here tonight, if you want to have a beverage, we will probably have a moment or two for you to do that, or you can just leave. It's up to you. I just want to throw it out there, whatever you'd like to do. Just take your cups with you if you could, because otherwise you're going to have to pay extra. And in fact, the District of Summerland does not know we're using the venue, so if you just be quiet, we don't want them to think there was something going on here. Yeah, I'm not kidding, that's the funny thing. With Summerland, you just do it and then ask for forgiveness. You heard that from me. This show began as a way of expressing expressing myself. I thought I had something to say, but then I realized people don't want to hear someone rant about asshole drivers, inconsiderate smokers, and other stupid people. So I won't do that. So really, there's nothing left to say. People want witty repartee, with some meaning but not too much. So with that in mind, I've been working on a speech for grads, ladies and gentlemen. It's a little something I call a speech for grads. And, you know, they don't ask just anyone to speak to grads. They certainly don't ask me, because I haven't been to space. I'm not an actor or director or talented musician. Who are you again? And that's okay. So I wrote my own speech and hosted a venue, invented a venue where I could just do my own speech. So let's assume you're the grad audience here in Summerland, ladies and gentlemen. You might learn something if you are 18 or 17 or however old you are, and you graduate. But I don't know what that meant. I'm just throwing this shit out here. Anyway, speech for grads. Band, tightly rehearsed. Imagine, if you will, you're in the audience. You've just graduated. You can't wait to get out of there to go drink. And some guy's going to talk to you for a while. People often talk about time, killing time, wanting more time, saving time. Time is not your friend, young people. Young people. And time does not care about you. Think about the people you wish were here right now. People who may have saved for a rainy day. People who waited until tomorrow. While you're busy worrying about time, time is moving on. Here are a few simple tips on how you can stop worrying about the future and start living for the moment. Be your own rock star. That's my advice, and I mean that seriously. Every single day. What does that mean? Oh, person we've never heard of? Well, it means live life like it means something like you matter. Sing a song for millions of people? Great. Save a life as a paramedic or doctor? Rock star. Cut hair well? Also rock star. It's easy to screw that up. Appear in a rap video. Good for you, nobody cares. Be a good sister, brother, parent, or friend? Total rock star. The other thing you need to do if you want to be your own rock star is simple. Treat yourself with respect. Take care of yourself as though your head isn't firmly planted inside the lower portion of your body. Take time to nurture and exercise your body, and while you're at it, bring your mind along for the ride. When you go to bed, be grateful you have one. When you wake up, be happy that happened. And remember, the world is not here for you waiting to see what you do. You are an active participant, not a fucking pylon. Excuse my language. I was going to change that, but that word worked. Take a stand, be a contributor, not a vacuum cleaner. You may find yourself living in a small town one day where everyone thinks they know better than the next person. That could happen. Well, I want you to rise above that by coming up with ideas and working together rather than trying to speak louder and turning away. Rise above it by showing respect and kindness, empathy. Don't get bogged down by that crap, and don't, as we said earlier in the show, don't be an asshole. One final note. Don't just look in the mirror or at your phone. Take time to look at your friends, your family, your neighbors, and think what they might need and what they might be feeling. Look outside yourself. That's the key to personal rock stardom. Because when you do that, people will react accordingly. Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming to the center stage here in beautiful downtown Summerland, just north of the Bienz and south of the beach. We'd like to thank our talk show guests, Sophia Jackson, Davies, Roark, Critchlow, Millin. Our sponsors who paid for the venue. Thank you, sponsors. You are awesome. Stacy DC, she did the poster for us. Andrew, Leanne, and Jasmine at the Groove Yard, who helped sell tickets, along with the folks at Rockstar District. Everyone at the Ryga Festival, including Sophia and Peter. My in-laws, Mary and Neil Trainer, who always tell me I do a good job and then laugh at me behind my back. No, they don't. They support me. Even if I was a total a-hole, they would support me, and I love that about them. My beautiful wife, Erick Trainer, same thing with her. She supports me all the time. Marty and Brandon in the booth. Julie and Angela, who I don't think came tonight, but they did the 4 shows. They did 3. And again, happy anniversary, Laura and Evan. And of course, Tavis, Stefan, and Michael, the Tavis Weir group. We're going to play a song for us called Those Who Go Alone. It's from their album called Those Who Go Alone, the Tavis Weir group. Good night, everyone.